Yes. Yeah. Yeah. This. Pure awesome. Hello everybody. Let's take a look at the psychedelic Metroidvania game, Ultros. I'm not going to bury the lead here. I'm just going to start at the top by saying I love this game. It's a super positive experience and I definitely recommend it. Metroidvanias. There are so many of them. I mean, here's just a little list of some of these games. Since I've played very few of them, I'm probably unfit to make this claim, but I will anyway. This game sticks out among the bunch, and it's because of the thing that at the very least drew me to pre-order it in the first place. The art and design are amazing. It's an alien mycelial network that's spectacularly colorful and alive, and full of flora and fauna. It's thoroughly psychedelic, and somewhat reminds me of the bizarre French cartoon, The Fantastic Planet. In true classic Metroid fashion, you play as a female character in a suit, and there is no sign as to her gender, except for some dialogue. It seemed like it might well have been a nod to the Metroid games. Gameplay is a classic Metroidvania, with all the hallmarks of the genre. A blocky connected map, unlocking abilities, backtracking, and a double jump. But the twist is a sort of time loop that affects some but not all things. It's unclear if this is actually a time loop, and it may be more of a memory wipe, but it's somewhere in between those two. This mechanic is masterfully done. For instance, there's gardening in this game, and you can nurture the seeds you plant so they'll grow bigger, and in the next loop you can unlock new things to interact with. The gameplay is tight and often makes you feel clever when you discover a new way to accomplish some goal with a seed, or an item, or an ability. Like lots of games these days, there's a skill tree. It's quite simple and easy to manage. You can keep skills for the next cycle when you find special mnemonic locks. Otherwise, you restart your skill tree for each loop. The game also has these extra abilities through this extractor, which is a machine that connects to you via a cord, but I'll leave those to be discovered. Throughout the game, you fight a variety of unique enemies, all psychedelic enemy creatures and bosses, which are quite fun to battle. You can also make peace with the creatures by feeding them. There are some puzzle aspects to the game as well, which I won't spoil here, but are very rewarding to figure out. The other part of the game that's a lot of fun is the seeds. You can grow them, you can nurture them, and they become these really interesting interactable plants. These plants are key to traversal of the environment and unlocking various secrets of Ultros. The base game without any optional content is not really hard. It's a nice difficulty level that feels satisfying, but not at all frustrating. The optional content, on the other hand, can be very frustrating at times. And 100%ing this game without using any guide could drive someone 100% crazy. The story is just your typical situation where you wake up on a stranded cosmic uterus which contains an ancient demonic black hole. This cosmic uterus is a spaceship called the Sarcophagus. It's absolutely teeming with life. The natural inmates have begun to run the asylum. Something happened here on this ship, and it's fun to piece it together. I found it interesting to think about the world that was on the station before you got here, the lives that were being lived, and why folks were here. There are guest quarters, a bathhouse, a refinery, and lots of other locations to juice out the story. This game is also a meditation on nature. It's like you're trying to regrow the mycelial connections in a damaged forest, or you're part of an immune system fighting off a serious infection and trying to reach a beautiful homeostasis. The story can be quite cryptic. The dialogue doesn't always help clarify, as it is also cryptic, and has some archaic language and poetry. It's hard to connect and follow some of this dialogue and text, but I will say it did a masterful job of fitting the setting and artistic style of the game. What punches you in the face right away is the art. The art is so awesome, and it's also so alive. If I played this game a lot and closed my eyes, I'd see some really psychedelic imagery flowing through my mind. It's just such a living, breathing, and moving world with floral, flowing, fractal energy. It's truly psychedelic. The game feels like it's pulling from tripping out with psychedelics in nature. There's also many creatures and items that reference real biological terms, such as Diptera for the fly-like creatures, which is the name of the actual taxonomical order that contains flies. The natural environments are beautiful and meticulously crafted. I feel games are also interactive digital art pieces, and this is definitely a work of art. The music is fitting and ambient. It's beautiful and non-intrusive, and creates tension and calm at the right times. It's also alien enough that it's not like hummable tunes. Where the audio really shines is the sound effects. After playing for a while, I started to notice the sound effects, the crunches and animal calls, and other environmental sounds. It makes the game really come to life, and like the music, it doesn't upstage the world. It's like a really good movie where you don't think about the acting while you're watching it because you're so engaged in the world. And the acting just supports the story. It doesn't upstage it. I got this game day one and it ran very, very smoothly. I did run into one noticeable bug where in some instances I got stuck with my character unable to move. It happened a few times at one of the save points and once randomly during the game. This was very rare and only mildly annoying. Resetting the game fixed it every time, and I lost little to no progress when it happened. Overall, I encountered no other real major bugs, and the game just worked great. Sometimes on the starting screen, I did have trouble activating my save file and had to go back and exit and then reset that part, but nothing was that much of a frustration. Plus, they may well fix some of these minor bugs later on. I believe this would be an 8 to 9 hour game for most non-pro Metroidvania players. That is just doing mostly the mainline game stuff, nothing extra. It took me roughly 15 hours to get to an ending, but I also did a lot of optional stuff. Doing nearly everything important in the game, without a guide, clocked in at 36 hours for me. I couldn't use a guide since no full, easy-to-access guide existed while I was playing. Alright, a bit of a spoiler warning here. I'll try to be vague, but this is a spoiler, so you can skip ahead if you want. There are two endings to the game, the violent ending and the non-violent ending. You can achieve both in one playthrough by resetting after the first one. But the non-violent ending requires connecting all the monk pod things in the game to the mycelial network. These are bubble bath pods with monks in them. And this is a tall task. It takes many hours and is frustrating without a guide. And I'll say doing this was a very satisfying process, but also very difficult, and it's a very different gameplay loop than earlier. The game really slows down and becomes a puzzle and gardening game. Alright, so I'm going to also give a little hint here. It's important to utilize the staccati seeds and how they grow. You will likely need to study the various ways to manipulate this annoying brambly plant. This game really resonated with me, and I'm going to give it a 9.5 out of 10. If you're trying to get the good ending, which I don't recommend if you're only interested in the classic Metroidvania parts of the game, I mean, you can look up the ending online, it could become tedious and frustrating, though the payoff of solving a puzzle that's confused you for a while is there, if you don't rely too heavily on a guide. But I don't want to be unclear with that last bit. I would definitely recommend consulting a guide when you need it to get to this final ending so you don't end up banging your head against a wall. In conclusion, if you like Metroidvanias or are neutral on them, I'd say this is a must-play. If you don't like them, you might still find yourself falling for this one, but perhaps not, because the core gameplay is purebred Metroidvania for sure. Thanks for watching.
La 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 la.